But I know that I've been forgiven and I'm loved with the greatest love. Oh, I've been set free, I've been redeemed by the greatest love.
So, you are insignificant. There is a ... so we'll figure out where that's going to play into it. In 1977, guitarist Kerry Livgren. Anybody know who that is? All right. Somebody knows who that is. He wrote a song after reading a book on Native American poetry. There was a line that caught his attention in the poetry that ended up being the chorus to an ever-popular song. Let me share just a few lyrics with you. If you're Charlie's age, you'll know this. If you're Johnny's age, you may not. So you're going to learn something today, Johnny, I promise you. You may know this song. I'm not going to sing it unless I really feel inspired to. I close my... No, okay, don't sing it. I close my eyes only for a moment and the moment's gone. All my dreams pass before my eyes with curiosity. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. You guys have heard this song before. Their follow-up to the song by Kansas, or follow-up to the other one. Same old song, just a drop of water in an endless sea. All we do crumbles to the ground, though we refuse to see. What a beautiful Christmas message this one is starting out to be, isn't it? We just click our heels and feel good about this. You know, the book of poetry and subsequently the song got Kerry thinking about the true value of material things and the meaning of success. See, he wrote this song at a time where he was wildly successful. The band was doing well, making money, but Kerry realized that in the end he would eventually die just like everyone else. No matter our possessions or accomplishments, we would all end up back into the ground. We would all end up being just dust in the wind. Later on, Kerry ended up becoming a Christian in about 1980, and from his biography, he says of his songwriting in the 70s, he says, I was only expressing my own searching for something, adding, if you look at my lyrics, even Dust in the Wind is a song about the transitory nature of our physical lives and falls under the umbrella of heading towards God. We would call that in here probably prevenient grace. God wooing us to Himself, beginning to see the reality of things. He had found success, but success wasn't the end and all that it was supposed to be. And he wrote this song at a time when, man, it just comes to the point where we're like dust in the wind, which brings me to my first point. We are really not that important. In fact, we're all quite insignificant. That kind of can be a bit uncomfortable to say, especially in this day and age of self-esteem and giving little Johnny a trophy for putting his left foot before his right foot. Right? I mean, don't we do that now today? We reward just mediocrity. We want them to feel so significant. We bought into this. Why if we could just have them feel so significant. And the truth is, it doesn't work that way because there's this nagging feeling that getting a trophy for walking is, everybody can walk. It's weird. When we did our kids' things, when we did kids' soccer a few years back, everybody got a ribbon. Yeah. There were kids on there that should not have gotten a ribbon. That's right. And one of them, I'm not going to say who was on the team, but anyway, everybody's getting a ribbon because we bought into this whole self-esteem. You need to feel significant. This is a truth. We are quite insignificant. And let me show you. Let me bring my case out. Let me see if I can illustrate it. I'll illustrate it in two ways. Here's a crowd of people. This isn't even a large crowd. It's only in the thousands, possibly close to about 80,000 people. It just looks, when we look at it, it just looks like a sea of dots. That if you took one dot out of there, you'd still have just a crowd of people. Not one person is making a difference. Now let's go to a bigger one. How about our city? In the Tampa area, there's about 4 million people. So I did this little drawing of 1 million dots right there. Actually, I didn't do the drawing. I didn't even count it, but I'm just taking the internet at its word, which can be a very dangerous thing. This is supposedly 1 million dots right there. So we have 4 million people just in our general area. If you take one of those dots out of there, it doesn't change anything. Now we have 310 billion people, or 310 million in the US, 700 billion plus on the earth. 700 billion is, if I do my math correctly, and if I don't, Bimini will scold me, so she's a math teacher. 1 times 7,000, would that be correct? Or 1 times 7,000 millions, I think, is 7 billion. Sound right? If not, it's a big number. So if we put 7,000 of these up there all around, you're one of those dots on planet Earth right now. Makes you feel really significant, makes you feel really important. And again, this is kind of one of those things that doesn't seem like it's a Christmas message, but stay with me, especially Johnny, because I'm talking to you. No, I'm messing with you, Johnny. He's my buddy now. Because this is a message that I wish I would have heard early on. Although we weren't not too big in the self-esteem movement, we were kind of in the spanking movement, I think was my generation. That was maybe what they had, the movement. So, okay, so that's our place here on Earth. Anybody ever been to the Grand Canyon? Anybody in here? Have you ever sat there and looked out at the Grand Canyon? I've been there many times. This is not a picture of me doing it, it's just a picture of a random dude. He's looking out into the Grand Canyon, and it kind of makes you feel insignificant. It makes you feel small as you look out. I was worried about myself as I was at the Grand Canyon, though, because it didn't even look real. I had to keep reminding myself that this was real. And actually, I came to find this out later on, it's not just me that's really demented about this, but it's a lot of other people that are like me, because there are signs up everywhere at the Grand Canyon. If you fall off here, you will die. I mean, it seems obvious, doesn't it? But for me, I was just thinking, wow, that doesn't even look real. Let me just... No, I didn't do that, but it just makes you feel so small. It's like you're looking into a picture. What about our place on the planet? What about our place in the universe? So here's a guy sitting out looking at the Grand Canyon. What if we maybe back it up just a little bit and maybe head out to the moon? Right? There's that same guy somewhere right over there. He's out looking at the Grand Canyon from the moon. Picture of planet Earth from the moon. Just small, little tiny dust specks on a dust ball hurling through the dusty universe. Let's go a little bit more. How about the solar system? Here's planet Earth. Look how big it is compared to Venus and Mars and Mercury and Pluto. Did you guys know that Pluto's not a planet? Somebody is saying it's a dwarf something now. I'm calling it a planet, or I'm calling it a dog from Disney, right? I mean, it's something. So there's the Pluto. It's the smallest one out of these, and Earth right there. Now let's look at the planets in our solar system, and we're one of the dust specks. Oh, probably over there somewhere. No, I don't know where that is. That's actually, no, that's not South America. That is Australia. You guys didn't know you were getting a geography lesson today, did you? It's a theology geography lesson. And I get a cool red pointer thing, so I mean, that's the only reason I bought that. So we're somewhere on the other side of that dusty ball, probably in the dark. Now Earth, down here at the bottom. Earth becomes a lot smaller. It took me a long time to get all these pictures to scale and to take all these photographs to get it just perfect. You guys believe that? I've got some bridges I need to sell you too. All right, so there is Earth. Kind of small compared to Jupiter, isn't it? I mean, Jupiter is like the Mac Daddy planet. I mean, we're not even a Daddy Mac planet. That's just tiny down there. And Pluto, you can hardly see anymore. Again, one of the dust spots on this planet in our solar system. Can we maybe go out a little bit more as we start to look back? There's our sun. Look how enormous the sun is. There's Jupiter. Remember how enormous it was? We'll go back here. Look how big Jupiter is compared to Earth. There's Jupiter compared to the sun. There's Earth right there. Tiny little Earth. Almost 1 million Earths fit into the sun. 960,000 Earths. I did the math myself. You can check me later if you want. You know, I trust the internet on a lot of stuff, so hopefully. But you get this sense of the Earth being this tiny and the sun being that big. See, in comparison to the sun, we're one of the 7 billion dust specks on that Earth. In comparison to the universe, we're quite... Oh wait, this isn't the universe, is it? No, this is really what the Milky Way, this isn't even our own galaxy. This is just the sun and planets. Maybe we can go back a little bit more. How does the sun compared to other suns? See, the sun is just a star, right? So it's got to be the biggest and grandest. It's our star, so it is definitely got to be huge compared to all the other ones. Well, not so much. There's our sun right there compared to Arcturus, another star. Sirius is the one that you either play on the radio or you see out in the sky that's very bright, right? And then Arcturus is another star. Our sun, in comparison to Arcturus, is tiny. Earth is invisible at this scale. And you can't even see the dust specks upon the Earth at this scale. Jupiter is about 1 pixel. We can't even see it with our eyes on the screen at this scale. Again, if we go back, look how big the Earth is to the sun there. Sun to Arcturus. You just say, oh man, we can't even see Earth at this scale. We are just barely a 7 billion dust speck on there. But, you know, before I go on, doesn't it feel like sometimes the world revolves around us? When things are going bad or trials, man, we just sense everything is wrong and the whole world is against us. Guys, if the whole world was against you, Arcturus would be pretty hot, right? I mean, the sun would be pretty hot if the whole universe was against you. All right, so there's our sun that the Earth fits in 960,000 times compared to Arcturus. We'll go on. Arcturus was a little bit larger, or here's Arcturus down here now. Can you see that? Tiny, tiny little star. Compared to, and I'm just going to make these names up because I don't even know if I'm saying them right. Aldebaran and Antares. Look at how big is Antares compared to Arcturus. All right. We go back. Arcturus, our sun. Arcturus is much larger. Now Arcturus begins to be small. There's Antares. Anybody know the name of this one? Betelgeuse? Is it really? Is it? Well, I like that name. I can say that one. So we'll call that one Betelgeuse. All right. Man, I'll never forget that sun now, or that star. Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse. No, we shouldn't do that here. We don't want to mess with things happening. All right, so Betelgeuse. Is that really Betelgeuse? All right, Mark is telling me yes, so if Mark is telling me yes, then it's got to be right, because I agree with everything Mark says. All right, so Betelgeuse is right there. Compared to Arcturus, here is the sun. The sun is 1 pixel in size, so you can't even see the dot, which is the sun, being 1 pixel. Jupiter's invisible. The Earth is more than invisible. And you would think, man, this is it then, there's nothing larger. Well, they've found another one out there. I don't know how they missed it. It's called Canis Majoris, if I'm correctly saying that. And I think it means big dog. That's what it sounds like, Canis Majoris. I don't know if that's what it means or not, but that's what I call it. So there's Canis Majoris compared to Betelgeuse over here. And there's a few other ones. You got the Mu Cephei and the West Cephei and the VV Cephei and all the whole Cephei family in between, right? And then you get our largest star out there, Canis Majoris. Now, why am I telling you this, and why are we doing this whole universe lesson? Because we think we're so significant, and yet when we look at the expanse of the universe, we are but dust in the wind. Now, let me go back and just show you us compared to Canis Majoris. There's Earth compared to the sun. Pretty, remember, 960,000 times it can go in there. There is our sun compared to Canis Majoris. You can't even get the picture of it up there. The illustration that is used is if I had a golf ball in my hand, which is about this size, we'd have a 15-foot sun right here. Okay? Now if I take our size of the Earth versus Canis Majoris, that one would be 6 miles in length, or 6 miles in height. That's how large that is compared to us. And yet, so many times we feel like the world just revolves around us, and everything is going wrong in our life, and we can throw the pity parties. We can throw things in and out of context. Sometimes it's good to go out and say, man, we're just but dust in this wind. We're really insignificant. I like what Ecclesiastes says. There's a few scriptures that, that people will put on their walls, or they'll knit them into pillows. I don't even know if they still do that. The lion will lay down with the lamb. Jesus, the Lamb of God, the Prince of Peace. We don't usually put like the scripture in Revelation where I'll vomit you out of my mouth. That one doesn't get on many pillows. Right? This one I don't think will get on many pillows either. It's Ecclesiastes 1, and I want to give it to you in the Message version because it flows real good in there. Although if you read it in any of them, that pretty much reads the same. Ecclesiastes 1 says, this is the words of the quester. The quester is the preacher. He's going to speak here. He says, this is Solomon writing it. He says, smoke, nothing but smoke. That's what the quester says. There's nothing to anything. It's all smoke. What's there to show for a lifetime of work? A lifetime of working your fingers to the bone? Our generation goes its way. The next one arrives, but nothing changes. It's business as usual for old planet Earth. The sun comes up, the sun goes down, and does it again and again, the same old round. The wind blows south, the wind blows north. Around and around and around it blows, blowing this way, then that, the whirling, erratic wind. All the rivers flow into the sea, but the sea never fills up. The rivers keep flowing to the same old place and then start all over and do it again. Everything's boring, utterly boring. No one can find any meaning in it. Boring to the eye, boring to the ear. What was will be again. What happened will happen again. There's nothing new on this earth. Year after year, it's the same old thing. Does someone call out, hey, this is new? Don't get excited. It's the same old story. Nobody remembered what happened yesterday, and the things that will happen tomorrow, nobody will remember them either. Don't count on being remembered. And that's the word of the Lord. That's the word of the Bible. So what does all this have to do with Christmas? I mean, I thought we were going to have a holly jolly Christmas this year, and now you're coming in with this whole insignificance thing. I think it helps us to keep things in perspective. And one of the things that I want to do with this message, if it's not the foremost of people's problems, is that what happens is we get so big in our own minds and we think the whole world revolves around us. And then the only thing that can set in is pride or victimology. Wow, this is always happening to me. Or pride, look at me, I'm the center of the universe. Right? I'm this individual, independent person. And again, that's the fertile ground for pride. And we know that God resists the proud and that pride comes before the fall. So first and foremost, we must get into our own minds how completely insignificant we are in the grand scheme of things. Why? Why is that important? Again, you have much of culture going the other way because it's true. Ultimately, we're very insignificant. We're but dust in the wind. It's in a purely naturalistic world, that's all that this really is. That's all the hope that there really is, to be dust in the wind. I bet, now I don't want to bet money because I don't want to lose any money, but I would be willing to bet there's maybe only one or two people in here that could name their great-great-great-great-grandmother. Anybody?
Granny.
Granny, yes. That's why I didn't bet money, because there's always one in the crowd. If we have to go to my office after this. Yeah, so nobody, I mean, you would think, she probably thought she was the center of the world and everything was going on. Oh my gosh, and this is happening. And most of us now, 4 generations removed, can't even name her. And yet, we think ourselves so significant. Genesis 3:19 says, For you are dust, and for dust you shall return. And this is the plight for all of us that are actually intellectually honest, and we look at life. In the grand scheme of things, it's quite insignificant. If we were only living in a naturalistic world, only living that below-the-line life, that's all it is just dust in the wind. There really is no hope. That was my plight for many years, where I thought, man, if things don't get better, and I bought into the whole evolution, I bought into the whole naturalistic everything, and if the pain got worse than the pleasure, then why not just end it, because we're just dust in the wind. But I thank God that we're more than just dust in the wind. So there has to be something greater or let me do it this way, there has to be someone, instead of something, which would be more correct, there has to be someone above and beyond the things of the Grand Canyon, of the 7 billion, of the universe, something greater than even the big dog star, in order for there to be any kind of any significance. We said earlier that we can get into this unholy but situation, but this is happening, but that is happening, but this is happening, and here's where we come to a holy but. We are completely insignificant, but God. Where's Dwayne? I need to do a Dwayne voice on this one. But God, right? Hi guys, thanks for watching these videos. I hope that they are a blessing to you and are feeding you with the true Word of God. One that's not a mixture of the Old Covenant, New Covenant together, where neither make any sense or they both become obsolete, but one where it rightly divides the word of truth. And I pray that they're not only feeding you, but feeding others in your life, within your family's life. Pray more that the peace and love of God is shown and manifest and made real in your lives as you watch these videos, and as you understand how wildly affectionate and crazy God is about you, and live out of the abundance of His divine nature. Guys, if these videos are being a blessing to you and you want to help support them and help support all the things that we're doing at A Grace Place, well, I would ask that you would go to www.agpchurch.com. There's a giving button at the top right, and you can go there and you can give via PayPal, you can give through e-giving, you can even become a monthly contributor or weekly contributor. If you don't have a home church and this has become your home church in many ways, then please feel free to sow into this. Our desire is not to become wildly wealthy. We could actually give away some of these. These are anointed prayer cloths. If that would help, I'll send you 6 dozen of them. I go through them like crazy. I think I should take out stock in Bounty. But, honestly, no joking aside, it takes money to bring this good message of grace out. One thing that we do differently is our finances are an open book. So if you want to look at what we're doing with our financials, there's ways to get our financials, and you can see what goes where. You can't see who gives what. Nope, we're not doing that. But you can see where the money actually goes out. And it's our desire not to only have this community of grace believers here locally, but to bring the good message of the happy God out. And guys, that's what you're participating with when you sow into this. So I would ask that you would give by faith. Remember, faith comes by hearing the words of God. So let God instruct you where to sow this money into. The money that He's so abundantly blessed you with. Remember, you're just stewards of it. It's His money. And if this is one of the places He wants you to do so, then I would say go to our website and click on that giving tab. But do so prayerfully, and do so being led by God, not out of compulsion, but being led by Him to give the good gifts so that others may come into this union life, so that others may know what it means to live in the grace and goodness of God. Be blessed, and here is the rest of the video. But because of God, because of who God is, we are not insignificant. See, all of our training, all of our mindset is down into the natural. And the natural world will push you down. It'll give you everything you think that will bring you significance, and you'll find out you are completely insignificant. That's where all the evidence is. Unless there is something greater, something more, someone more that's over that natural, that is supernatural. That's the words. Don't be afraid of that word supernatural. Don't let Hollywood hijack that from us. Really, the word super just means above or beyond. So there's someone that is supernatural, that is above all of this. And because He is who He says He is, He holds all of the universe into His very hands. By the very person, we have Jesus here, and it's okay. I think, again, going back to the pillows and the tapestries, and you have Him holding the child, and He's got His Breck hair feathered back just perfectly, right? And he's a white guy with blue eyes, because that's where he was in Norway at the time. That's what he looked like there. No sarcasm there. He didn't look like a Middle Eastern Jew at the time. He must have looked like somebody up there. I think he actually looked a lot more like Steve Whitaker over there, but that's a whole nother situation. So we have this Jesus, and we look at him as just this guy that, can hold a child and say, unless you're like this child, you too won't be converted. We think of him as so small, but he holds the whole universe together. By him all things are made and held together. God breathed out the stars, even Canis Majoris, the big dog. God breathed those things out. God is so much over all of this. And yet when we look at ourselves in relation to all this, this is a gift of God to us, because we see how utterly insignificant we are in comparison to the vastness of people, and really more so the vastness of the universe. Now, most of our training has been in the natural realm. We are children of the dust. For 27 years, I lived as if there was no God. So I was only able to hear from the things of the natural, and that's why I always thought, well, this way's got to be the right way, and this way's got to be the right way, and this way. And I was always going to try to find the right way, which always ended in death. There's a way that seems right to a man that ends in death, until Christ, until God invited me to himself. Now his ways, in Isaiah it says, his ways are higher than our ways. His ways are super than our ways. Higher, supernatural. Now, as a Christian, one that the very life and love of God lives in me, my ways are becoming his ways. He's retraining me and renewing me and telling me who I am and teaching us to live in the supernatural, the above the natural. So, but God, it's the holy but on this. He gives the rest of the story. So he's above the natural, he's the supernatural, he's the one that holds it all together, that spoke it into existence. You got to think, God spent a lot more time making you and I than he did making Canis Majoris. Can you believe that? Think about that just for a minute. He took time with Adam to come and to fashion him. He said, let us go make man in our image. So we have Father, Son, Holy Spirit crafting Adam. When he spoke the universe, he just spoke it out. All right, universe, jump into existence. But when he took the time to make man, he made them different. He created them different. He didn't just speak. So what does God say about us? I love, this is why when our significance doesn't come from our talents, it doesn't come from our looks, it doesn't come from our money, it doesn't come from anything other than what God says we are and who he says we are. And it comes from that union with him. Psalm 103:13 says, as a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him. For he knows our frame. He remembers that we are dust. And this is good for us. If the Lord remembers it, don't you think it's good for us to remember it at time? Because I'll tell you, when you fail all the time, I should have had this junk together, I shouldn't be doing this again. No, you're dust. The Lord remembers that you're dust and that you're fallible and that you'll fall. And he has pity on us. And he lifts us up. The word pity is not the same kind of word that we use today. It's a word of compassion and lifting up into himself. Psalm 147:10-11 says, his delight, this is the Lord's delight, is not in the strength of horses, nor his pleasure in the legs of a man, but the Lord takes pleasure in those who fear him, in those who hope in his steadfast love. That word fear is not like frighten and run away from God. It's reverence. It's reverential love towards God. His perfect love for us casts out that fear of running away from this God, and that makes us run to this God. So his love casts out all that fear. But there's just something so keen in here. The Lord takes pleasure. Now, if that doesn't give you a reason for being significant, that you can bring the Lord pleasure, what else does? Nobody could name their 4th generation granny. I mean, nobody could probably name what they did 10 years ago on this day. But if I brought the Lord any pleasure 10 years ago, that's eternal. And the Lord takes pleasure. That's just a beautiful thing of God. And then let's go on. Here's another one. 149:4-5. It says, for the Lord takes pleasure in his people. He adorns the humble with salvation. Let the godly exult in glory. Let them sing for joy on their beds. Hallelujah. And Psalm 103 says, know the Lord, he is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. So the reason why we are significant, because he says we are his own. No other thing gives you significance. You could be a mom of 70 kids, and maybe you could get a TLC show, right? But that's not going to make you significant. The Lord calls you his own. He loves you, and he takes pleasure in you and delights in you. And he's the one that spoke the universe in. You're significant just for that reason. And when that becomes the foundation of who you are, and now how you look at yourself, that you're one with this God that speaks this universe into existence, then you realize how absolutely significant you are, and you realize how insignificant you are apart from him. Because now that is so important. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Boy, that was a hard one for me to swallow. I would read it and say, you know, come to church and say, of course, friends, apart from the Lord, we can do nothing. Right, you know, the Lord is good, but apart from him, we can do nothing. But I was doing everything apart from him. I really didn't need him. I was doing it for him instead of from him. Now I know apart from him, as soon as I think I got it for him, I missed the boat. Everything I do is from the Lord. When you guys go out today and you're breaking blocks, you may have the muscles to break the blocks, but you don't have the Spirit to change the hearts of people. The Holy Spirit is there in you, and he changes the hearts of people as you speak the very oracles of God. You're significant because you're God's chosen vessels out there to show his love and life to those kids. You see, that's a beautiful thing. The greater says we are his own, and we are significant only because of what he says. Apart from him, we're just dust in the wind. I won't make that sing to you. There's a song that we sing here every now and then, and this is a line out of it. So we are his portion, and he is our prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in his eyes. Oh, how he loves us. It's a beautiful verse, and it's a beautiful chorus in a song that comes out of the book of Deuteronomy. I don't know if this is how the songwriter had it in mind, but it bothered me until I could find the verse where it was in the Bible, why he would have put it in there. And he may have had this in mind or not, maybe. But this is the verse in Deuteronomy. It says, but the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob his allotted heritage. Remember, you guys have been grafted into the very tree of Israel. Jacob his allotted heritage. He found him in a desert land, and in the howling waste of the wilderness, he encircled him. He cared for him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. You're significant because of the Lord's care for you. He cares for you. Now this is the message of the season. This is the message of Christmas. Apart from God, you are completely insignificant. You're dust in the wind. And now you can even use some of these cool names like Canis Majoris, Betelgeuse, and all these other things and really freak people out. I mean, compared to Betelgeuse, the amazing star that's way out there, the sun is but a pixel next to it. What? All right, that'll freak other people out. But now you guys got the ammunition. But in him, because the very God that spoke those major stars and everything we know into existence says he loves you and wants to make his home in you and now lives and abides in you, you're completely significant. You're the apple of his eye. The beauty. He loves us so much that he gives us a down payment of salvation. He gives us and seals us with a gift. You guys know that gift. In Ephesians it says, in him you also, when you heard the word of truth, and you're hearing the word of truth today, now let the Holy Spirit speak that word of truth to you. When you heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, and believed, and entrusted this, and rested into this, and placed your confidence in this, relationally relied upon this. These are all words for believe. He believed in him. You were sealed with the promised Holy Spirit. God gives you the best gift he could ever give you. It's not the coolest black Mercedes out there, and it's not the big house on the hill, although we're in Florida, so nobody's getting a house on the hill anyway. It's himself. It's himself. And yet we look around at all the Chinese trinkets and stuff, and we get so caught up in the season, we miss the greatest gift. The baby in the manger. But yes, to us today, it's the Spirit that now comes to live and move and breathe inside us. And we have the very hands of God to the people. We are no longer natural. We are supernatural. It says you are partakers of the divine nature. Partakers means you're participants. It's what the word means. You become a participant in the divine nature. You got your hand of God. God now living and abiding in you. He now ministers through you. Again, not apart from Him. You're not going to go do this thing apart from Him. You're going to go do it from Him. And it doesn't matter if you're Dwayne's age or you're Johnny's age, or you're even as old as Charlie. I mean, come on. The Spirit is coming to live inside you. So Johnny, you got the hands of the very God living, that spoke the universe into existence, now living in you. Trust that Spirit. That's the gift of Christmas. He is our guarantee of our inheritance until we acquire full possession of it, to the praise of His glory. It's not for the praise of your glory. As soon as you think it's all about you, you miss the mark. Whoop, you start moonwalking. No, I can't moonwalk. So you moonwalk right past the mark. That's right. I think I'm going with you today, man. I'm going to Avon Park too. So we're significant because He calls us beloved. He calls us His own. And then my last point today, and we're going to end pretty early today. We're significant because He calls us His own, and when He puts that Spirit in us, and now we get to give His love and life away. This is what it says, this scripture, we used this last week. Whoever believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. Streams of living water will flow from within him. And the next verse says, now this He said about the Spirit, whom those who believed in Him were to receive. We're recipients of that Spirit. Now out of that Spirit that now lives in us, has the desire that says, yes, I want to reach out. I want to take a Sunday and drive halfway across the state just so there may be one lost sheep in there that has a chance to hear His voice. You guys aren't going to do a little show or a little thing. You're going to speak the very things of God, the God that spoke the universe. And what a beautiful, that's what's happening today. You guys are hearing the words of God today. You guys are seeing the scriptures, the things that God has spoken, the promise that He has given to you. It's that life that flows out of us, and this is what He has desired to do. I've seen this illustration before. It's not original with me, but the Spirit that now comes to live in us is not meant to just stay. We get this control factor. We tell Him, nope, you stay. We'll still stay in control. No, He's meant to be the one that's in control. As He flows through us, it gives life. And the illustration that's used, you guys been around church for a little while, you've probably seen this illustration, where you have the Sea of Galilee at the top. It's being fed by by different rivers. Actually, the Jordan River is up here. And out of the Sea of Galilee, it's teeming with life. Remember, they were fishing on the sea, all these different things happening. And then that very life flows down the river. But then it gets stagnant in the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is called the Dead Sea for a reason. I don't know if you can guess why. Because nothing grows in there. It's dead. So the life that it flows in you, you're not meant to be one that just holds it. It's meant to be given away. God is the first giver. God so loved the world that He gave. So you give the very love away. And the beauty is, it's not just a little bit that you get. God's an artesian well. He'll continue filling you and you continue giving it away. And that's what it is to dance with the very love and life of God. That's what it is to be participants in the divine nature. So today, this eternal and all-powerful and all-knowing and omniscient God comes to us. And He comes as a conquering king. Nope. He came as the baby in the manger. This God came helpless. Does that not blow you away? The God that spoke the universe comes to us, not as the conquering king to say, this is how you will do things, but He comes as the baby in the manger to show us that His Father can be trusted. That's why Jesus said, the works you see me doing are not my works. They're the works of my Father. Everything I do is what my Father does. The words I speak are not my words of my own. They're the words that my Father gives me. And we don't live from manna from 6 years ago. We live from fresh manna today. Fresh manna in every step. The very Spirit giving life and bounce to us in every step. He's already created, you know, there's that verse that we love, for by grace you've been saved through faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. Then there's the next verse, Ephesians 2:10 is so key. For you are God's poema, workmanship. You are His beautiful poem, His painting, created in Christ Jesus unto good works. And it doesn't stop there, which he foreordained or foreplanned for us to do. So he already knows the works you're walking into. He's already equipped you to walk into it. And he's given you the greatest gift he can give you to walk into that, his very Spirit. Now this God comes as a baby in a manger. And I love this part in Philippians because it has the mindset of Christ. And early on in the church they would call this the hymn of Christ. This Philippians verse. And it actually goes all the way to 2:11, but I'm just going to go 2:5 to 2:8. It says, have this mind among you. Remember, our mind is continuously being renewed in these truths, which is yours. Now, if it's yours, it's for yours to be received, not for yours to be worked for. It's yours. Now receive this mind that's in you, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but he made himself nothing, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Jesus, who was fully God, didn't count it equal to say, look at me, now you follow me because I'm God. He said, I'll trust my Father. Not my will be done, but your will be done. And that's our mind. That's our heart. That's the love that we get to share with the world in this season. This is the mind of Christ. This is the reason for the season, to trust ourselves fully and completely to the God that is greater than anything we can imagine or fathom. This is the God that so loves us, not by our merits or works, because in comparison to him, they're nothing, but because it's his nature to love. And now let me leave you with one final verse, and then a reading out of a book. Love one another during this season. Honor one another. Care for one another. In this, the very law is fulfilled. In Romans 13:10, it says, love does no wrong to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Love one another. That's being participants in this divine life. As you reach out with the love and life of Christ, you're participating in the divine life. Because that's the fuel, that's the very character of God, is he's reaching out within you to love those. I trust that God's love has spoken to you guys today and is leading you in a twofold way. To receive the greatness of his love and grace, knowing that it's not by anything that you can do to gain it, but by simply a God that desires to love you and give himself to you. And then secondly, to give this love away. In the book I'm reading called Abba's Child, there's this portion in there. I've taken it from a couple of different people. It's not completely with Brendan Manning, but he's quoting a couple of people. It says, in this decade of much empty religious talk and proliferating Bible studies, idle intellectual curiosity, and pretense of importance, intelligence without courage is bankrupt. The truth of faith has little value when it is not also the life of the heart. What value in learning that doesn't turn to love? It's a 13th century theologian said, what value is there in learning that doesn't turn to love? If the things that you've learned today don't turn to love, they don't turn you to say yes to God and receiving his love and giving that love back to him and giving it away to other people, what value is there in learning? And then this last part is this poem. It's called "As Love is Meant to Flow." Is there a note you need to write? A call you need to make? A drive you need to take? His love is meant to flow through billows and bellows. His love is meant to flow. Open your eyes and heart. His love is in the here and now. Yes, even for those with furrowed brow. His love is meant to flow. Through billows and bellows, his love is meant to flow. His Zoe river of life breaks forth. From the south to the north, allow it to embrace the coldest hurts. His love is meant to flow through billows and bellows. His love is meant to flow. You are made whole in him, not by might or by power, enraptured in love this very hour. His love is meant to flow. Through billows and bellows, his love is meant to flow.
I'm loved with the greatest love. But I know that I've been forgiven and I'm loved with the greatest love. Oh, I've been set free. I've been redeemed by